Good boy. As long as man can remember, ducks have flown south for the winter. Hi, I'm Keaton Day, and welcome to Headin South. And as the ducks and other waterfowl made their journey south, we made a journey north to North Dakota to try to cut these ducks off and find them early. Because North Dakota seems to be one of their favorite places to stop and feed during this migration. While the entire Headin South crew finally made it to the camp where we would be spending our week in North Dakota, we had two totally different methods of getting there.
So here we are, Nodak 2018, about to hit the road, leaving Gulfport, 5:46. Here we go.
Brock and I are headed to New Orleans Airport. The rest of the crew drove up.
So we're 10 hours into our trip, only in Springfield, Missouri that is. It's not very fun.
We're approaching the airport. We're about to get off. Thank you, Katie. Wish Brock and I good luck.
Good luck. For what? Don't make me nervous. Now I'm worried about
You're supposed to ask for gas money.
So we finally made it to North Dakota. It is 4:48 in the morning. Drove straight through.
Me and Brock flying to Dallas, ultimately to Bismarck, Bismarck to Jamestown. Hang on.
Y'all going hunting? Y'all coming up. We'll show you where they are.
With a ton of gear, we had to drive up there. But with Barry, well, if he had ridden with us, we may still be up there trying to straighten out his old bones. But no matter how we got here, the whole crew has finally arrived in Jamestown. The next step was to scout these thousands of miles of farmland to find the ducks for filming the next day. And while we may be here for the ducks, we found out there's a lot more to Jamestown than just hunting. We meet the mayor of the Buffalo City when Headin South returns. Welcome back to Headin South. Our first order of business was to scout these miles of fields looking for a big concentration of ducks. But finding the ducks is only step one. Once you find them, then you have to ask the landowner for permission to hunt their property. And we found out the people of North Dakota and their pets are generally really nice and more than willing to let you hunt their land. So with the next day's hunting and filming set up, we accepted an invitation to meet the mayor of Jamestown, Dwaine Heinrich, to take a look at the place we call home for a week every November, to see what makes Jamestown just such a special community. And every year as the ducks and duck hunters flood in, the population of the city increases. But we learned that the resident population, well, they have one great city.
As you go up and down the interstate along these small little towns, you might see a buffalo, or you might see a prairie grouse or some such as that.
But Jamestown is known for buffalo and is home to the rarest buffalo of all, the white buffalo. Sacred to many Native American traditions, the animal is so rare that the people of Jamestown found the inspiration for a museum, known as, well, the Buffalo Museum.
was a rare treat for a bunch of Mississippi boys to learn about the buffalo and to actually see a white buffalo, Mayor Heinrich drove us around and we figured out that Jamestown was much more than just the Buffalo City. With the types of arenas and facilities usually found in much larger cities than this. And even with its modern amenities, Jamestown has not lost touch with its unique past. During a time of early growth in our country, railroads were being built from the East Coast to the West Coast. General Thomas Rosser headed up the construction linking the railroads in Jamestown, and he named Jamestown, North Dakota after Jamestown, Virginia. And though raised in the South, he attended West Point and was the roommate of General George Custer. And despite being on opposing sides, Custer and Rosser remained friends during and after the Civil War. But perhaps Jamestown's most beloved son is world-renowned author Louis L'Amour, who spent most of his childhood reading in the Alfred E. Dickey Free Library, which stands exactly the way it did when L'Amour was coming up. And it was from this building where he gained the inspiration to pen such bestsellers as The Quick and the Dead. The people of Jamestown are so proud of their history that they built a replica city depicting Jamestown of how it looked many years ago. With a log cabin that made our small camp house with 7 people in it suddenly seemed kind of spacious. And they even had an old train station, where some of the guys on the crew said it was often to be visited by the spirit of General Rosser. Alright, the hell with that. We'll see you later, General Rosser. It's time for me to get back in my truck and go duck hunting. But before we go, I'd like to thank Mayor Heinrich and all the people of Jamestown for their hospitality. And we will be back next year, and that's guaranteed. The only thing is, they said I talk funny. Hell, I thought it was them. Up next, we're going to start to speak a little duck, and maybe they'll like it with a little southern drawl.
Shoot him!
Stay tuned. On day one in Jamestown, we spent the morning scouting thousands of miles of farmland trying to find the best place to hunt ducks. And that afternoon, we had the opportunity to meet the mayor of Jamestown, and he showed us what a great city it is. But now, it's day 2 in Jamestown, and it's time to go hunting and see if all our scouting will pay off. Joining me on this trip was Headin South producer Barry Foster, Brock Day, who is a cameraman, hunter, and just happens to be my cousin, Nick Ray, who is our stills photographer and got to do a little bit of hunting himself. The rest of the hunters were Jeffrey Register, William Frierson, John Evans, and Brendan Missildine. Now remember, we're all Mississippi and Alabama boys up here scouting unfamiliar land. With thousands and thousands of acres for these birds to land, let's just say it was kind of a challenge. After getting these decoys out and getting set up, it didn't take us long to see that, well, we were up to the challenge.
Shoot him! Good boy. Could have got the green in his mouth. Yeah. A lot to it.
More great duck hunting action coming up after the break. True duck hunting is always a challenge. When you go out there and do everything yourself, looking for wary ducks who have been here a while and seen it all. And it's an even greater challenge when you have millions of ducks with thousands of acres to land on, and you're not even really familiar with the area. And I'm pretty proud of this because we don't have a local to help us, or better yet, a guide service. And we've got ducks coming in. And get ready, because here comes some more.
Got him! Woo! That's a green. And it was a drake too. We shoot him? Got him! Got him! That's 3.5!
We're getting in plenty of singles and doubles, and we're making some pretty good shots. But we just couldn't get that big flock to commit. So we adjusted our strategy just a little bit.
So we moved the decoys out. We really had them too close to us. They were busting us when they were making their circle over, so we scooted them out. That way, when they're making that last circle, they won't bust us. We're doing pretty good on singles and pairs, but when you get groups of 15, 20, they were busting us. So we got them moved out now.
But even with the decoys moved out a little bit, big flocks of ducks still wouldn't commit. So we went to strategy number 2, bring out the layout blinds. So we moved the decoys back, still getting busted. Pulling out the layout blinds, seeing if batching these things up and getting out here in front of the corn and the stubble and batching these blinds up will give us a little better height. So we'll see if this works. But as you'd have it, as soon as we pulled out our layout blinds, the ducks just quit flying. And all we were doing was sitting there staring at an empty sky. So we decided to call it a day and just look forward to our next day of hunting. So we got an early start the next morning for a couple of reasons. One, we thought the ducks would be flying a little better the earlier we got there. And 2, I had to get Barry back to the airport in Bismarck to catch a flight home. So we were literally getting our decoys out at 3 in the morning, which might not have been so bad if the temperature wasn't in the teens and the wind wasn't blowing about 30 miles an hour. So let me tell you, it was cold. It was so cold that the trailer lock was frozen on the back door. And not long after daybreak, we were in our blinds. And a little while after that, our first group of ducks for the morning came in. We got a few more shots after this, but it was getting really cold,
Even the dogs were frigid. And now it started snowing. So I gotta drive Barry back to Bismarck to the airport in a blizzard. And now, like these ducks, he's flying south. Or heading south, if you will. When we showed up here in North Dakota, we felt like strangers in a strange land. But now, after meeting all these nice people, we feel right at home. And we will be back. Hey, we got plenty of ducks for a nice meal. Headin South cooking when we return. Welcome to Headin South cooking. Yeah, we had a pretty good trip up there in North Dakota, and you know, a lot of people say they don't kill ducks to cook them, and that's probably because they just don't know how to cook them. I'm going to show you a way to fry some duck breasts that's very, very simple. Right. First thing we're going to do is your smaller breast you're going to take and cut in half. But a bigger breast like this one, you can cut it into thirds. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is you're going to take a bowl of Tostitos salsa. I use the restaurant style because it's a little thinner, goes a little further. And you're going to take your chunks of duck breast and put them into the Tostitos salsa and soak them in there for about 30 minutes. Alright, the next thing we're going to do, and do not make fun of me for putting my flour on an aluminum foil, it's the easiest way to clean it up. You're going to take this out of here, and what we've done is mix flour and lemon pepper fish fry. You're going to drop all your duck breast onto that. And now you're going to take your duck breast, and I use one of these inside fryers, and some people will be like, well, that's not very manly, but you know, whatever. And this is why we use aluminum foil. These are done. Just like fish, you're going to cook them till they float. You're going to have to cook them a little bit longer because it's more of a dense meat. But when you cut into it, it should be a little bit medium rare type on the inside. But that is a fried duck breast. And if you've never tried duck breast this way, I'd strongly recommend it. It's definitely the best way I've ever had it and found to cook it, unless you're doing a casserole or something like that. But very simple, very good. And you saw it right here on Headin South. And we'll see you next week. Hold on a minute. Y'all stay here and watch these deleted scenes.
Get him, get him, get him! I'm trying to sleep. I was dreaming about something good too.
Now we'll see you next week on Headin South.
Want to be part of the Headin South crew? T-shirts, hats, and more are available now on our website. Visit www.headinsouth.com to get your Headin South gear today.